Hi everyone, welcome to Watch It Played. My name is Rodney Smith. In this episode, we're going to learn how to assemble the Go7 Gaming Custom Insert LCG-001. This insert will replace the factory insert that comes with games like Android Netrunner, Lord of the Rings: The Living Card Game, Warhammer Invasion, Call of Cthulhu, Star Wars, A Game of Thrones, High Command, and even the original Thunderstone. Go7 Gaming also released an LCG-002. And although the assembly is exactly the same, the dimensions are just a little different, and that's because Fantasy Flight Games updated their boxes in this style. The exterior dimensions are exactly the same, but inside the box is just marginally smaller. So the 002 will fit both the older and newer boxes. The 001 will only work in the older boxes. Either way, the assembly is exactly the same. So whether you pick this up through the Kickstarter or you've purchased this from Go7Gaming.com, if you join me at the table now, we'll see exactly how these go together. So here are a few of the things that I like to have on hand when I'm assembling one of these inserts. First of all, I've laid out a new cloth on top of my table to protect my surface. Because we're going to be working with glue, and although this is a pretty clean job, you never know, sometimes you might get a little extra where you don't want it. I like to use LePage quick drying glue, but any good quality wood glue should do the job. I also have some paper towel here, again to help clean up any unnecessary messes. Some 220 grit sandpaper, just to sand down any rough edges as necessary. There's also an X-Acto knife here. This will help us get into the shrink wrap, of course, but also if there's any pieces that need to be popped out and they're a little bit stuck, this will help with that. Finally, I have some weights here. You can use some heavy books as well. And I use these to help the insert maintain its shape while the glue is drying. First though, let's unwrap the kit. Inside we find the bottom piece along with the rails. There's 4 rails that are actually inside of a wood sprue here. Actually, look how quickly that one popped out. Some of them may be in here a little tighter. You just have to do a little bit of wiggling and yeah, they come out very, very nicely. Although I have the X-Acto knife handy, I don't think you're going to find that you need to use it for getting the rails out of these sprues. There's also some slots on some of these pieces that need to be punched out. Once again, just a little bit of pressure is all you need. They pop right out and then you can get rid of them. If you find any of the edges appear to be rough, of course the sandpaper can be used to smooth that out. But right now, I'm just going to punch out all of the rest of these pieces. I know it looks like I cheated and assembled the whole thing without you, but before you begin using any of the glue, it's a good idea to do a test fit, and that's what I've done here. Nothing's been glued together. All the pieces have just been put into place to make sure everything goes together the way it should. And clearly it did. The rails with the notches should go from one side of the box all the way across to the other, parallel to these slots. That's going to help hold these central ones in place. And then the rails that have the slots go on the ends, and these will hold the central rails in place as well. When you're ready to start gluing things, it's a good idea to assemble from the inside out. So let's start with these 2 central rails. I'm going to apply the first bit of glue to these inside notches along the bottom of the rail. So I usually try to be pretty conservative with how much glue I apply. You don't need a ton. So I just try to keep a pretty thin strip like so. And then even once I've got all of this done, this is the part that's going to be touching the bottom base of the insert, I will still maybe put a couple of dabs on either end of these tabs here, on either side really. Just like that. This is just a little extra glue that's going to sort of mush into the slots at the bottom of the insert and just give it a little extra integrity to the structure. So when you're ready to go, you just slide it in. And yeah, some of the glue is going to sort of gush out on the sides. That's all right. That's what the paper towel is for. I just run it along the corner there. Everything pushes out. And although it may still look like white glue, it's going to dry clear. So you won't see any of it, even if there's still a little bit of white there after you've wiped it away. I'll glue the other central rail in place and then we'll come back and take a look at the outside edges. It's not a bad idea to lift up your insert and then wipe the bottom as well, because sometimes the glue will come out through these slots and you don't want this sticking to whatever surface you're doing your work on. These outer rails are done very similarly. We're going to put some glue along these parts here again, and then the side that's going to be touching the inside of the insert. On those tabs, the ones that stick out a little bit, we'll put a little extra glue as well. Now one thing to keep in mind is that both sides of a rail may not be equally good. As you can see, all of these look really good, but you may find some slight imperfections. So that's something you'll want to keep in mind. You might want to decide, okay, I want the imperfection on the outside or the inside of the box. That part is up to you, of course. I'll go ahead and glue these two ends into place, and then we'll take a look at the final two ends. Again, just to show you, ideally, you're going to want to put the glue on the inside tabs here and then along the bottom as well. These really do fit in nice and easily. And again, any excess glue that you have, just wipe that away. Applying pressure just causes the paper towel to sort of mush in there, and it should take care of any extra glue. The final pieces will require glue in some additional spots. Let me just prepare one of these rails and I'll show you. Once again, we have the glue running along these inside grooves, and then on one side of these tabs, above and below the slots, and then on the inside of these tabs as well. Because this piece is going to slide in right here. And hopefully, everything's going to just fit into place here. You're going to have to make sure that these inner rails line up with the slots. Thankfully, while the glue is drying, you still have some wiggle room to make sure everything goes together just the way that it should. And anything that doesn't seem to be fitting in place, just give a little nudge and it should go. Once again, I'm just going to clean off any of that excess glue, and then I'll do the same thing to the other side. All right, now things are really coming along. We've got the box assembled. The glue is starting to dry, but it's not dried yet. So what I like to do is flip the box over, and then I'll put a couple of weights on either side just to try to keep the walls nice and snug. Maybe put a couple things on top. Again, these don't have to be weights. They can be some heavy books, maybe a game. Just keep in mind there could still be some glue drying on some of these different edges, so don't put something good on top that could potentially get stuck to that glue. I recommend leaving the assembly to dry for a good 3 to 4 hours, maybe even longer, depending on how quick drying your glue is. You don't want to be sticking your cards inside the insert and then having them get gummed up. While your insert is drying, there's still things you can be doing. Don't forget, we have the dividers, these clear ones, but they come with a protective film on either side of them. So just find a corner and sort of dig into it a little bit, and it'll peel away. Like so. There's one side, and then the other side should come off just as easily. There you go. Once your insert has dried, go ahead and put it into the box and make sure everything fits. I should mention I didn't quite let my insert totally dry, so you may still see some white spots, and for now I'll be careful of where I place my cards. Speaking of which, you can now put the dividers in. And there's all kinds of notches, so you can really divide things up how you want inside of the box. And you can use sleeved or unsleeved cards, but you will want to be careful if you're using sleeved cards, because they are not all made equally. Some will extend further out beyond the edges of the cards than others, and then they won't fit in quite as nicely. Go7 Gaming recommends the tight-fitting Ultra Pro deck protectors like I have here, or even the Mayday Premium sleeves. Those will fit inside, no problem at all. By the time you've put in all of your dividers and your game components, you'll have a highly organized, space-efficient insert with lots of room to grow. The insert also sits down far enough that you can put the rulebook on top and the cover will still fit on flush. If you have any questions about this insert and the assembly, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'll gladly answer them as soon as I get a chance. But until the next episode, thanks for watching.